on For the Record.
You said you're pretty confident that you'll keep the assembly, so a narrow margin doesn't seem to concern you?
It's narrow, but again, we've had that before.
We sit down with Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and the chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin to talk about how the 2026 midterms are shaping up.
I would not be so confident if I was in the position where I had to defend the Trump administration's record.
And there's a new candidate in the race for lieutenant governor.
Will Martin, I'm a common sense conservative, and I'm running for lieutenant governor.
Plus, we're talking about the $15 million the governor's asking to be released to revamp prisons. That's all coming up this morning.
We now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Ellie LaLiberte. The State Department of Public Instruction is in hot water this week after a year-long investigation from the Cap Times found that grooming cases were shielded from the public. The paper's reporting found that more than 200 Wisconsin teachers, aides, substitutes, and administrators from 2018 to 2023 were accused of sexual misconduct or grooming behaviors towards students. The investigation also found DPI has minimal resources dedicated to investigating these incidents, and officials allow educators under investigation to forfeit their credentials in exchange for avoiding in-depth probes. This Thursday, the State Assembly Committee on Government Operations, Accountability, and Transparency held an informational hearing on sexual misconduct in Wisconsin schools, a hearing that the state superintendent, Jill Underly, didn't show up to.
She did not reach out in any way saying this date did not work for her. We would have gladly accommodated an alternative date for the state superintendent of public instruction to be here.
And I'm disappointed that Dr. Underly is not here today. She should be here. I conveyed that to her team twice in the last week.
Underly has called the investigative piece, quote, inaccurate reporting and sensationalism that ignores facts, distorts the truth, and omits key context. She released a video in response.
When an educator voluntarily surrenders their license, that is not a loophole. It is a serious, permanent action. Their name is entered into a national database and is shared among all state education agencies, flagging them for educator licensing agencies across the country.
DPI officials also say that the state's law definition of immoral conduct for licensing doesn't currently include grooming or professional boundary violations. Now, after Thursday's hearing, the committee voted unanimously to submit a request to the Attorney General to see if the state law does include grooming. And in response to the Cap Times reporting, several Wisconsin Republican congressmen sent a letter to Governor Tony Evers demanding transparency. Congressman and gubernatorial candidate Tom Tiffany held a press conference Thursday following the hearing.
Silence in the face of scandal is unacceptable. The reporting from Cap Times shows that DPI failed to properly track, investigate, or share information about sexual misconduct with the public, and teachers accused of misconduct were even allowed to hand in their licenses to avoid full investigation.
And the newest Wisconsin Supreme Court justice will not participate in a decision to suspend attorney and former Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman's law license. Justice Susan Crawford recused herself from the proceedings that marked the final step to sanction Gableman. The former justice made several conduct violations during and after his investigation of the 2020 presidential election results in Wisconsin. In the order recusing herself, Crawford says those violations Gableman is accused of happened in a courtroom of a judge she was frequently in contact with. Prosecutors charged a Racine man with stalking after he allegedly sent liberal state Supreme Court Chief Justice Jill Karofsky a series of intimidating emails. According to a criminal complaint, the man sent Karofsky 9 emails between August and October, accusing her of being manipulative, telling her to eject herself from office, and asking for her home address. He faces up to 3.5 years in prison if convicted. And in a week, a program that helps feed nearly 700,000 Wisconsinites could run out of money. The state's Department of Health Services says the federally funded Food Share program will not have the money it needs to operate in November due to the federal government shutdown. And earlier this week, I sat down with State Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and asked if he has plans to address the looming deadline. Do you see the state stepping in to cover some of those costs in the interim?
I didn't like it when Republicans threatened to shut down the government over time when under President Biden and Barack Obama. I certainly don't like it now the Democrats are threatening as though the first thing they have to do is reopen the government. I can't imagine the state could step in because there's so many programs that the federal government funds. We don't have the resources to do that. So my hope is that they figure a way to get open.
So there's no plan for if that does happen?
I think it's super unlikely. I mean, I can't say never because we have to talk to our caucus and see where everybody's at, but I think it's unlikely knowing the world that we are in and that chances are by the time that we're back, the shutdown will hopefully be over.
And so I want to move now to the 2026 midterm elections because we've seen the Republican Party lose some big statewide races in the past couple of years, the governor's office as well as the state Supreme Court. How do you see this upcoming election playing out?
I think we truly are that 50-50 state. It's good for our democracy. I don't have a problem with that. Going into 2026, I think we're probably going to be more of the same. The election's not going to be decided by a landslide. It hasn't in a long time, and it probably won't for any time in the future. So it'll be a competitive race between the Republican and the Democrat for governor. There's no U.S. Senate race this time. We have a couple competitive congressional races. Again, those are at the federal level. And at the legislative level, really for the past 30 years, Republicans have pretty much dominated in the assembly under maps drawn by the court, drawn by the governor, drawn by one side or the other. So I'm pretty confident we'll keep the assembly. Again, it's all about people listening, doing good things, and we have a good record to be proud of.
And you said you're pretty confident that you'll keep the assembly, so a narrow margin doesn't seem to concern you?
It's narrow, but again, we've had that before. It's 54 Republicans and 45 Democrats, so it requires compromise. It's what we've had before. So we had a negotiated budget where I didn't get everything that I wanted. We probably spent more than we should have, but we did get some tax cuts, which Governor Evers didn't want to do. So I think in the end, it was a compromise.